so much into this, heart and soul, and you came through beautifully. And I want you all to know that the theme that she chose was all hers, and the material that was chosen was all hers. And when she says she wants to be a leader in the Jewish community, we can clearly see that the potential here is really unlimited. And we're so happy. And let me just reiterate some of the themes that she developed. The idea of chesed, of loving kindness, of helping another, of stepping out of one's own skin and reaching out to another person. And there's no better way to describe Leslie. That's the kind of young woman that I've gotten to know. A caring, sweet, a loving young person whom really, I see Betty smiling. We're all going to share in the joy and the pride of this young woman. She raised issues that she struggled with herself, issues of womanhood in Judaism, issues that she thought about with her teacher Michal, and she's come to some grips with. And it's something, those are issues that she continues to struggle with, and she'll continue to grow with it and learn with it. But the framework that she's developed for herself is just wonderfully inspiring. And the issues of leadership. It's an example, I think, to all of us to hear a young 12, 13-year-old speak of the aspiration of wanting to make a difference in the community. And this is our Leslie, and we're all very proud. I want to present to Leslie, on behalf of the congregation and myself, a book that was written by a teacher of mine, a very dear friend of mine, Rabbi Avraham Weiss. He was here this past year. It's Women at Prayer. And I had a little bit to do with the writing of this book, and I want to present it to you, and I know that it'll also be part of your learning and your growth as a young Jewish woman. Leslie, thank you very much. If there's a message that I can leave over to Leslie today, it's something that was inspired recently by no one less than Dan Quayle. He opened a very important door for me. I never knew who Murphy Brown was until this past week. What's the message? It's not important whether she did the right thing or didn't do the right thing. She should have had the child or she should not have had the child. And that's to the extent of my knowledge of Murphy Brown. What's important to me is that Judaism has something to say about that. Judaism has a set of values, a structure, a framework, which speaks to these very real human issues. I learned a very painful but profound lesson this weekend. About an hour and a half ago, I arrived from Mexico City. I was scheduled to go to Mexico to give 3 lectures at a young adults weekend that was taking place in Mexico City, young adults from North America. did not follow our rabbinic wisdom which says don't ever travel on Friday. I traveled on Friday. I arrived at the airport in Mexico City about 45 minutes before Shabbat to find no one waiting for me. And I not knowing where to go or who to call. So I go to an information booth thinking that they're obviously going to tell me where the synagogue is or where the synagogues are. And no one knows what a synagogue even is. They don't know what a Jew is. And I speak Spanish very well. And I say, please, church, Jewish church. I'm explaining to them, I'm trying to tell them Israel. I look at the yellow pages, there's no listing for synagogue in the yellow pages in Mexico. Shabbat is in about 3 minutes. And no one is there waiting for me. So I go to this little booth where it says hotels, will set you up. So I say, could you get a Holiday Inn to pick me up? And this guy on the other side of the counter tells me, no, I've got the hotel for you. I say, no, a Holiday Inn, please. He says, no, I've got this perfect hotel for you. Before I know it, there's a bellboy, a nice Mexican fellow, takes my luggage, he puts me into the car. I say, I have just a few minutes, I have to make it to the hotel. Sends me to this hotel that's a Mexican-run hotel. It was a very nice place. And it's Shabbat, and I'm at the counter, and I tell them I need a room. No problem. She pulls out the paperwork. Could you please sign? And I said, no. And the woman looks at me and she says, what? I said, listen, let me speak to the manager. I'm speaking to them in Spanish. And so I tell the manager, here's my credit card. I'm going to give it to you for the next 25 hours. I'm Jewish. I cannot write. So I cannot sign my credit card slip. I need a room until tomorrow night. So the fellow says, no problem, paisano, and he gives me a room, he takes my credit card, and we make it up to the room. They put me on the 3rd floor, and so the bellboy takes my stuff to the elevator, and I say, I'll meet you upstairs. So I'm running up the stairs, I make it up, and I ask the bellboy to turn on the light in the bathroom for me, and he does, and I tell him I'm going to tip him tomorrow night. I asked him then, I said, listen, I have to eat something, and I'm going to try to explain this to him. Sit him down, he's a real nice fellow. I tell him kosher and this, and I can't eat anything that's cooked or meat or cheese. Could you just get me a plain bowl of salad? Nothing on it. And a couple of fruits. And so the fellow, walks out of the room like, this guy's from Mars. Comes back with a nice tray, salads and fruits, and the tab to sign. And I tell him, again, I cannot sign the tab. And he thinks this is just too weird. He calls the manager, and the manager comes into the room. And imagine this. The room is dark, and only a light in the bathroom on. And I'm sitting by my bed on this little table with my food in front of me, and the manager says to me, I should have known it was you. And it's just, and he's looking at this whole scene, and he thinks this is really nuts. He says, let this guy be. And they tolerated me for the next 24 hours of walking up and down the stairs, sitting around the lobby. They're offering me a ride to town, a this, a that, and I'm saying no. And, I tell the fellow I'm hungry, and he says, salad again. And I say, yes, you can't sign, right? I can't sign. Anyways, I need not tell you, it wasn't the most inspiring Shabbat of my life. Saturday night, the group found me. I gave my lecture 1 out of 3. But this gave me an opportunity to take a different look at things. I was alone. The culture is so different. It's like going from where at the airport everybody knows me. I'm running into people, and in Seattle and in Los Angeles I met people I knew at the airport. There, it's totally alone. You know no one. They think you're crazy. I'm wearing a kippah all day long, and they're all looking and asking and talking. I was hungry because I couldn't eat. And I was bored. There was nothing to do. And all of a sudden, what I've taken so much for granted, what I thought was part and parcel with day-to-day life, became very precious to me. Food is not always so easy to come by. And when our rabbis tell us that on Shabbat, we don't cook food, we don't process food, we don't make food, they did intend the lavish Shabbat meals we make in Seattle, but they also wanted us to appreciate food in general, what it is to have and what it is not to have. It would have been so easy for me. There would have been a Monday or a Tuesday or a Wednesday. But on Shabbat, food was significant for me. And in the middle of Shabbat afternoon at around 5:30, 6 o'clock, after I have salad coming out of my ears, all of a sudden, I began to ask myself, how many people have I fed this year? How concerned have I been for those that feel the pain I'm feeling now daily? How concerned, how often did I think about those who can't put spices in their foods, or don't have cooking utensils like we have? How about those that tragically are ill and can't eat? Food took on a new light, a new meaning. My community. While I love my community dearly, I must confess there have been plenty of times I've wanted to run away and escape and just pack my bags and leave. But this past Shabbat, I appreciated every one of the members of my community. We take for granted the strength, the support, the network others like ourselves form, bring to us. I ask myself again, have I tried hard enough? Have I made enough of an effort to reach out to those individuals that aren't connected to a community, that don't have the network and the support structure that I do? I also thought about my family. While I would have missed them very much had I been with the other 400 participants of this national Shabbaton, family took on a totally different meaning this weekend. How often have I stopped to think and appreciate those that are closest to me? Those that stand by, rain or shine. Those that I, and so many of us tragically, take most for granted. This weekend, my friends, I learned that what underlies, what's behind all our ritual are a set of values that are so refreshing, that are so meaningful, and that make us different. You know, the LA riots, people say, was a matter of economics, was a matter of race. But there's another group of people that say that it was a matter of values. Because there were plenty of Mercedes-Benz and BMWs that drove up and looted stores. And there were plenty of white people that had their fix of walking away with things that didn't belong to them. It's a matter of values. And it's time that as a community and as individuals, we come back to those values. That's the message of Dan Quayle to me. It's not an abortion issue. It's not a sexual issue. It's an issue of values. It's what is being romanticized, what's being glamored here. The Jewish value is the family. The central focus of Judaism is precisely that. More so than the synagogue, more so than the land of Israel, it's the family. And if there's one message from Leslie's speech that hits home and that we should all take very seriously, it's precisely that. It's what she said about family. And it's not surprising that it comes from Leslie, because she's part of family. She comes from a beautiful and wholesome family, close people, committed to those values and to the community. And both Jack and Jerry come from a special breed. I've gotten to know Betty Al-Hadif a little bit this year. A very special and unique woman. A very sensitive and devoted human being whose desire for things to be correct drives her to try so hard within her family and in the community. She's given me keshas about the community too. And Mr. David Levy, who I don't know yet, whom I've heard so much about, and whom your granddaughter is so excited that you're here, and who I'm looking forward to meeting. And if I were to place a bet, I would say that that's the kind of person that you are as well. And it's a tribute to the grandparents and to the parents to have such beautiful children as both Leslie and Sam and the rest of the Al-Hadif and the Levy family. And I'm thrilled to participate today with your family, Jerry and Jan, in this very special moment. And if I could just close with a thought. Yesterday's Parashah, the sermon I would have given in Mexico City, the Torah says that the Jubilee year, all land that was acquired, that was sold and transacted, returns to the original owners. But the Torah says it differently. The Torah says, and the owner shall return to his land and to his inheritance. And our commentaries say that's obviously not what the Torah means, because the land returns to the owner. The owner doesn't return to the land. I want to suggest that there's an important message here. The Torah is saying something very valuable. The Torah is saying that yes, ultimately, every one of us return to our inheritance and to our land and to our roots. For some, it may be once in a jubilee. Others, it may be more frequent than that. But ultimately, we all return. Let us join together in prayer that we find meaning in our lives and make that return speedily Friends, at this time, I'd like to call up Jack and Jerry and Leslie, who are going to make a special blessing for their daughter. Leslie, come on up here. This is a blessing that parents traditionally give their children. I do it in my home every Friday night. Others do it less frequently. I thought it would be appropriate that today, at this very special time, that Jack and Jerry bless their daughter Leslie with the blessing that's said to daughters.
God make thee as Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. The Lord bless thee and keep thee. The Lord make his countenance shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. The Lord lift up his countenance toward thee and give thee peace.
Friends, I told Jack and Jerry, I didn't tell them who I would call on, but I told them that I would ask them to make spontaneous remarks. And so, go ahead. Some spontaneous remarks.
When we got to the synagogue this afternoon about 4:15, and there was no one else here, so we came inside and the telephone was ringing. So I went and answered it, and it was a Mexican guy who's still looking. Jerry and I had several things that we wanted to say this afternoon, but I think Leslie kind of said everything we wanted to say and said it very, very eloquently. We want to thank everyone for joining us today. It's a special occasion for the entire family, and it's really wonderful to look out and see so many of our family and friends who have come to join us today. We're both extremely proud of Leslie. Happy she was able to do what she did today. As the rabbi mentioned, Bat Mitzvahs are a relatively new phenomenon at this synagogue. And Leslie's only the third or fourth young lady who has had that opportunity, and we hope and believe that this is the beginning of a new and wonderful tradition here. We would also like to express our gratitude to Rabbi Levy for his guidance, his encouragement, and to recognize Michelle. I don't know where is she? Okay. Leslie's Bat Mitzvah tutor, Michelle, of course. She was really a wonderful, wonderful role model for Leslie. And she answered many of the questions that helped Leslie understand some of the difficult and sometimes mysterious concepts about Orthodox Judaism. We look forward to having you all continue to help us celebrate the Bat Mitzvah at the reception at Glendale immediately following the services. For those of you who do not know how to get there, I have maps. What's that? Oh, and there's rides for all the young people. And a thank you and a reminder for those of you who offered to help transport some of our young guests tonight, this afternoon. Thank you.
Friends, I'm going to ask you to please rise. And if you can turn to page 176 of your prayer books, we're going to read together in unison the fourth paragraph where it says standing. We're going to read together in unison the concluding prayer of the daily services that we do. It is for us to praise the Lord of all, to acclaim the might of the God of creation, For he has not made us heathens, or allowed us to be made people, nor given us the inheritance of the destiny of the masses. But I bow down to vanity and count all of this, and the victory of God saves not. We bow ourselves before the supreme King of Kings, the Holy One of Israel. Stretch forth the heaven, and lay the foundation of the earth. His glory flows in heaven above. The domain and might is all things. He is our God, who lives in wonder. In truth, our King, there is none else. Even thus is it written in the Torah, this day know lay to our heart, that the Lord is God in the heavens above, and on the earth beneath. There is none else. Friends, again, congratulations, Mazal Tov, and enjoy the rest of the
They're cute, really. Because this is, I understand. Although, without even knowing you, he would follow you. Say something, Leah. No.